Thank you, Madam President. I want to begin by saying happy anniversary. Happy anniversary. 32 years ago today, President Clinton signed the National Voter Registration Act into law. The so-called Motor Voter Act, that's what it became known as, made common sense, yet unprecedented strides to registering more eligible Americans to vote. Imagine that, taking advantage of the fact that motor vehicle agencies and other state and local government offices that interact with Americans every single day can easily, efficiently, securely assist U.S. citizens with one of those most fundamental rights: registering to vote and participating in our elections. A little over 3 years after it was signed into law, on May 24th, 1996 more precisely, I proudly completed my own training as a deputy registrar in Los Angeles County, which qualified me to register voters in my own community. Now, nearly 2 decades later, I was sworn in as California's 30th Secretary of State, becoming the Chief Elections Officer to the most populous and most diverse state in the nation. And just earlier this year, I was proud to become the ranking member of the Senate Rules and Administrations Committee with jurisdiction over federal elections. So it would be an understatement for me to say that I'm proud to bring my decades of election administration experience to the discussions and deliberations of this body. Now, throughout my time in public service, I've seen personally that one of the single greatest ways to increase not just civic engagement more broadly, but voter registration and voter participation more specifically, is to meet Americans where they already are. And Motor Voter sought to do exactly that, registering voters at state departments of motor vehicles and other public agencies, including state colleges and universities, military recruitment offices, and others. That's a good thing for our democracy, because we should all believe in that most basic of lessons that I believe we all learned in high school civics class, that our democracy works best when as many eligible people participate. Now, one other place that the National Voter Registration Act can and should extend to is naturalization ceremonies, giving new eligible United States citizens the information they need to register to vote should they want to. Now, if you've never had the opportunity to attend one before, I can tell you personally there are few experiences that give you more of that patriotic feeling than inside the four walls of a naturalization ceremony. If you've ever had doubts or questions about what it means to be an American, I encourage you to talk to and ask a newly naturalized citizen. Now, when I served as California Secretary of State, it was such an honor to speak at a number of these ceremonies, and part of the sacredness of the experience that I felt was standing up on the stage, looking out at the audience, and being told by the USCIS personnel how many countries were represented there. Maybe it was dozens of people, maybe it was hundreds of people representing literally dozens or hundreds of countries. So walking into the auditorium, walking into the convention center hall, they were immigrants from countries all over the world. But upon taking that oath and leaving that ceremony, they were all United States citizens. And while some people get to that point of naturalization having been in the country for a couple of years, some after several decades, some coming from working class families, others from very wealthy families, some families that have been here just a few years, others that have been here maybe multiple generations. Maybe some of these new citizens never had a chance to go to college or even high school. Others were there with not just bachelor's and master's degrees, but PhDs, maybe multiple degrees. The one thing that was constant for everybody is that as a United States citizen, you now had the right to vote. And in our elections, not only does every vote count, every vote counts equally. Think about that. How beautiful is that? Now, as I think about the people who go through the process, I can't help but also think about my parents, because they went through the naturalization process. And when I see the dozens or hundreds of immigrants becoming citizens, I envision what their preparation was like, because it was very similar, no doubt, to what my parents did. Taking classes, studying, showing up at every important appointment, filling out all those forms. And on the day they finally take the oath of allegiance, they earn the full benefits of United States citizenship. And so it was an honor and a privilege to be able to address those audiences as Secretary of State and encourage them not just to get involved in community, but to register to vote and exercise their new right to vote. And of course, I would do it on a nonpartisan basis. But the statistics tell us that registration amongst naturalized citizens still lags behind other voters. During the 2022 election, only 61% of naturalized citizens were registered to vote compared to 70% of native-born Americans. So the data tells us that we have a responsibility to do more here. And so that is why today I'm asking my colleagues to pass the Include New Voters in the Electorate Act, also known as the Invite Act. My bill would use the powers of the National Voter Registration Act to designate USCIS field offices as voter registration agencies, effectively giving our field staff not just the opportunity, but the duty to help new eligible United States citizens register to vote. Rather than just hand out a form, it would empower USCIS personnel to actually assist new citizens in completing and returning their voter registration forms. Now, I can predict what some of the counter-argument might be, so let me just say to everyone who regularly expresses concern about non-citizens voting, I would suggest what better place to make sure citizens are registered than at a naturalization ceremony. With the flexibility to work with state and local agencies however they see fit, my bill would take those spaces that are so crucial to our democracy and turn them into catalysts for democratic participation. Because the responsibilities that come with citizenship don't end upon taking the oath of citizenship. That's just the beginning. So I urge all of my colleagues, Republican and Democrat, to join me in supporting this common sense bill to invest in and strengthen our democracy. So notwithstanding Rule 22, I ask unanimous consent that the Senate proceed to the immediate consideration of my bill, which is at the desk. I further ask unanimous consent that the bill be considered read a third time and passed, and that the motion to reconsider be considered made and laid upon the table.
An objection.